Hey, this is Aggroed and Isaria, and we are your co-hosts this evening for a little ride we like to call the Peace Academy. You're listening to mspwaves Radio. Tonight is December 9th. The show is starting at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the Peace Academy is all about trying to live with ourselves and within a community with an emphasis on how we can have a nice community. And that normally means that we have to, in this case, this whole community is dedicated to the values of peace, abundance, and liberty. And, being abundant and having liberty are not always the hardest things to handle and always the hardest things to do. But really interacting peacefully with one another is a challenge. There's a lot of ways to be an asshole to one another. And frankly, there's a lot of ways to be a good person to one another. But I really do think that the challenge is in being kind towards one another, and just living peacefully. And that peace, it's usually hardest within ourselves for some folks, and sometimes it's hardest to go put onto other people. But these are the challenges that we have. So with that, it's nice to have my lovely co-host here. Good evening, Isaria. How are you?
Hello, Aggroed. I am fine. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. I gotta tell you, I'm pretty exhausted. Between a full-time job and doing minnow support and doing the radio station, it's a lot. And
Yeah.
and I'm rewarded for this. I'm rewarded handsomely. My Steem account hit a value of 100,000 US dollars today. So I have an enormous incentive to work my ass off in here, not just like the personal value thing, because I'm here in this particular space because I believe in the mission of Steem and I believe in the mission of the Peace, Abundance, and Liberty community and network. But I'm also here because financially it's pretty amazing what this place can do, and both as a witness, but also as a just as a poster, speaking sort of abundance. I had my highest post payout in terms of US dollars ever, and that happened today. And this morning I had a post that was worth something along the lines of over $3,000. So that's miraculous to me. And I'm just so grateful to be able to be on a platform and have a voice and try to spread this thing so that other people can. My success is sort of unique because I don't think everybody gets to be a top 20 witness. But literally, I spent 8 months just being an asshat on the platform. So if I could do that, if Kyle could do that, and make it into the top 20. There's some real good that we can do in this community, and there are ways that we can be paid for that good, and all of that comes together with I'm stoked. I am stoked to be part of this. I'm stoked to be building this community. I'm stoked to be spreading Steem, and I'm just very grateful for many things today. So I would wish this audience many blessings of peace, abundance, and liberty. And I'm doing my best to pave the way so that the people that follow in this path and this footstep will have access to as much or better in a faster time frame than it has taken me.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you had your big panel show earlier this morning, and that went well.
Yeah, they were all lovely human beings. My only issue with the whole thing was that Fairsom had some background noise that made him hard to hear.
Yeah.
And if that's that's the worst part of this, then that's really not that big of a deal at all.
Right. Yeah, I thought it went really well. I couldn't really understand a lot of what he was saying, but overall, yeah, it went very well.
I was also surprised by just how much the top witnesses are all sort of in agreement right now, too. I don't know if everybody is, but the fact that, most people don't see SBD spike as a priority to deal with. Most people see onboarding as a big one. A lot of people see communities as a top priority. It's nice that the witnesses and Steem seem pretty much aligned right now. Just as talking about some additional ways to bring people to this platform, but in general, I thought it was a nice venue of people that were smart and talented and passionate, but also a really excellent demonstration of how to channel that positively, have a really good discussion, and hopefully give some visibility to the people behind those names and the witness accounts, and spread some cheer about this place. I thought everybody was a really good representative to the community.
Yes, absolutely. What are your thoughts on this SBD spike?
So I literally posted during your show, and so I was listening to Intuitive Jacob, it's sort of in the background, trying to hear some of his woo-woo things and process those to the best of my science brain can. And on the other side, I was sitting there writing an article on why we should let the price of SBD rise. I literally want to do absolutely nothing about it. One of the things that I think is, there's a distribution on Steem where the top 1% own 93% of it. So if we allow this sort of spike in SBD growth to impact the Steem owners, there's very, very few people that will receive that benefit. If we keep them separated, then the spike in SBD will benefit the active community members, the people that are posting, of which there's 30,000.
Right.
And that's not, it won't be an equal distribution. Some of those people will be rewarded more, but that distribution looks a lot healthier than, say, the distribution of Steem power currently. So my egalitarian viewpoint is, let's reward the active posters, not the initial investors. The initial investors will be rewarded handsomely. We see the rise in the price of Steem. It was basically 20 cents for a long time. And now it's back up to $1.50. I think next week we'll be looking at $3 or $4 Steem, sort of when the weekend's over and the Koreans get back to their desks and they start crypto trading. I think they're going to push these prices up.
And for the audience, can we talk about the bias a bit, so everyone understands what? Because Shane mentioned it, and everyone's confused now.
Yeah,
thanks.
Bias is hard. I mean, it's one of these weird witness terms. Okay, the price of SBD is going up, and that's good for the posters. That's abundance for the posters and the active members of this community. But one of the groups that's not so great for is the merchants. Now, there's not a lot of merchants on the platform. So, there's Pure Hubs, there's Pay with Steem. You can think of Privix, which does server stuff as a merchant on the platform. And I'm starting to run out of groups that I can literally just point to and say, these people do a lot of buying and selling. I guess the bidbots too, where you're paying bids in SBD, and that's sort of like a marketing business. But there's a handful of businesses and industries. It's not like there's 30,000 of these things that exist. So what oftentimes the merchants want is a really stable currency, and that stable currency allows it so that as they are doing their transactions, they know what the price will be on Monday, and they know it'll be the next Monday. And when you have a currency that's going through changes like SBD is, it's actually kind of an adverse business climate, because you don't know how much money you have. I mean, you know how many tokens you have, but you have no idea what they're worth. So that makes it a challenging business environment. So one of the thoughts is the way to combat this is to basically print more SBD. And while that sounds great in theory, one of the challenges is that SBD is also a debt instrument. It's a loan. And if we have tons and tons of these SBD and there's a price crash and we have to inflate SBDs in order to keep their value pegged at $1, having tons of them around is actually going to be quite frightening. So I'm not very keen on printing them. But one of the ways that you can print them is changing the bias, because the bias is basically like an internal ratio on the platform, and the platform is calculating, how many Steem are worth one SBD or how many SBD are worth one Steem. And we can sort of manually manipulate that by changing the bias. And if you alter the bias upwards, you are manually manipulating the bias to basically print more SBD through posting boards.
So that it goes down.
Well,
so that the value goes down.
The theory would be, one of the reasons why. So why is it spiking? You have two options. One, there's people just pumping this with the intention of dumping it later. And two, we're reaching a point. My thought is closer to people might actually be seeing this as an alternative to Bitcoin. Like, Bitcoin is amazing and all, but unless you enjoy paying $40 every time you want to ship a couple hundred or something, Bitcoin has its challenges. And then the fact that you have to wait hours, if not days, for confirmation is a challenge too. If you would prefer to ship, thousands of dollars immediately within 3 seconds and get confirmation and have that happen at zero transaction costs, then the alternative is Steem. And I think it's possible that people picked up on the fact that Steem is a better currency. It might not be worth more, but it is a better currency than almost every other medium of crypto exchange that's out there, just because of how fast our transactions are, how easy they are to process, and the fact that there's no fees. So even without the community, even without the blogging, even without the radio shows and the whale shares and the ties to BTS and whatever the hell else is on this platform, just the currency in that tool itself is worth something. And so I kind of think that what we're seeing is the Koreans are sort of the first to pick up on the fact that, hey, this SBE thing is pretty cool. And by the way, it's in pretty short supply. There's only 3.6 million of them in the world. And, Bitcoin's up at 21 million. So we have, 1/5 or 1/6 the amount of SBDs in the world than Bitcoin. It's faster, better, and easier to use. I mean, there's more security on this system. There's just a lot that is going for this platform. So I'm the mindset that this is the new normal. And in fact, I think SBDs might actually still be quite undervalued. We'll see if I'm right, but so
you think that the spike in SBD will remain?
I think we're at the beginning of it. I mean, I think this thing is going to get quite a bit higher, which is why I'm hesitant to part with any of the SBDs. I know that it just went down to $6 or something, but I kind of think that this is going to be a bit of a calm before the storm, where we're going to get to Monday, the Koreans are going to start purchasing SBD again, and this thing is going to pump. And I don't think it's like some short-term pump and dump thing. I mean, I think that we're looking at finally Steem and SBD are actually taking hold on the platform. That's what I think we're seeing. And I mean, like, the crypto space. I mean, I think we're going to get more and more money.
Do you think that more of the witnesses will do the bias thing to try to make it go down?
I don't know. There's not a lot of people that are doing it. One of the challenges, so Alir, who runs Utopian, had 2,000 SBD, And he was really excited about that, and he wanted more Steem. So he hit the convert button. Not understanding that when you convert, it converts at a ratio of 1-to-1.
Right.
And if you have a high bias, it won't even be 1-to-1. Like Ferrison's bias would put this thing at, I think it would put it at 0.1-to-1. So that 2,000 SBD, he got 2,000 Steem for, and if the high bias is there, he would only get 200.
Right.
And that is a net loss of something like 95% of the value. I mean, that's horrible. And that's built in. There's a benefit to that when when SBDs are underneath $1, then you would actually want to use convert, and that would actually help you get more, and it helps relieve the system of debt, which is part of why we like that being there. But when you mess with the bias, it kills the value of what you just traded. So he literally lost, I don't know, $18,000.
Oh man!
So that's terrible, and that's part of why some of the witnesses are hesitant to go change it, because if you change it, the people that inadvertently start using convert are losing out on thousands of dollars, or literally 90. They're having 90% losses in that trade.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just really don't understand why anyone would want to stop to prevent this, because to me it all just seems like a great thing. So I understand what you said about the merchants, but how we don't have that many merchants.
Yeah, I think one of the groups that is sort of hesitant about this are the people that own a lot of Steem, because they see this and they're like, hey, I don't want that. I want Steem to pump. Steem should be going up. Why is this other thing going up, but not my Steem? I own 8 million Steem. This thing isn't going up. That is less ideal. And I understand that, but I get a little frustrated by the distribution of Steem on the platform.
Right.
So, 93% of the Steem is in the hands of 1% of the owners.
Right.
So in terms of having a distribution that is fair and makes sense, can you hear my kid screaming in the background?
Yeah.
Nice. It's bedtime. Baby number 2 is not excited about bedtime.
Oh no.
So I'm gonna give me just 1 second. I need to go close the door to my office.
Okay.
So tell me why you think it's a good idea to have a high price of SBD.
Well, I am not an expert in these areas, and that's why I was trying to find out more information, but it just seems to me, like what you said, that, whatever the numbers were, 93% of the Steem isn't 1% of the users. It just seems to me that more of us can try to make headway on this platform and get somewhere on it from our post payouts, which I think is a wonderful thing, especially the minnows who generally make very little on their payouts, which can be a little bit frustrating. So, if you had a payout of 5 SBD, well, that could be $50, just depending on, the value at the time, which I think is wonderful.
Yeah, so this is a way to send the value to the active users that might be minnows and they might be dolphins or whales, but the number one thing is that they're active, as opposed to the original investors, and that I understand why they want to get paid. I do think that a rising price of SBD will help them get paid, but frankly, I'm not that worried about people that already own 8 million Steem power. I'm worried about the minnows that are coming here that I want to have decent post rewards. I mean,
Right.
like,
And like Shane said, he said this is the first time where people are really seeing the promise of the platform, where you can really get paid to post. You can really get something out of this.
yeah. So this is part of where being a chemist is actually helpful. And this is a weird statement, but a lot of you don't know how to convert units. And because you don't know how to convert units, you don't actually know how much your posts are worth. So let me, I think I can share this. So let me go print this screen. And then I can go add this to the chat box. And I'll walk through one of the most recent payments that I got. And I'll walk you through some of the math of how much this thing is actually worth. We're going to crop it down to this, Control A, Control Copy. Now this is a bunch of money, and it's only a bunch of money because Steem power is low, or Steem is low and SBD is high. And this is what I would advocate we really want. So here's a little spreadsheet. You're going to want to click that open. You might even want to open it in a new tab. But so I held the Steem panel. A week ago, I put together a post about it. And on that post, I used a bunch of bidbots, and the bidbots shot the initial value up. And that got it in front of a bunch of whales, and a bunch of whales upvoted this thing. It got downvoted by Bernie, so I lost $50 of post value on there. And the whole thing ended up at $708.54 of payout. Now, payout doesn't all go to the author. It got split between me, Aggie, and the curators. And it's not exactly 75-25. It was like 78% went to Aggroed and 22% went to the curators. Now, of that, it's weird. That is a number. The post payouts, I'm not entirely sure this next step. But this, I think, actually might have to do with the bias, and it might just have to do with the price setting within the witness feeds, the price feeds. But I had $559.34 of post rewards, and that turned into 279.67 SBDs, and it turned into 164.6 Steem. So there's some ratio in here that was saying that these two numbers together are equal to that Aggie post reward. Because if you add them, they're not. This is a 430 number, and that's a 560 number. So they're not the same thing, but that's what this thing comes down to.
Yeah, I've noticed that before. Okay,
so now we take these and we multiply by their values right at the second that I got them. And SBD at the time was 10.958, and Steem at that time was 1.77. And so if we multiply these together, the amount of SBD that I got was $3,064 US, and it was 291 Steem, like US dollars from Steem, for a grand total of $3,355. And it's come down quite a bit because Steem, or the SBDs, are now worth $6, and I think that's part of a healthy correction. And my guess is that in about 2 weeks, we're going to be staring at maybe $20 Steem, or at $20 SBDs.
What makes you predict that?
Because there's only 3.6 million of them in the world, and they are. It's presumed. I don't know of a better currency than this. What goes faster than this? What has less fees than free? It's just a really good currency, and there's basically none of them. And now we have an entire community of basically the Koreans that came on board that start looking at this and saying, it looks high now, but this is nothing compared to what it could be.
So this is due to the Korean market.
This is due to Koreans coming in and buying $8 million worth of this stuff. And that's what's pumping these prices.
Okay.
And I think we're at the beginning of that. You know, as this keeps going up, more people are going to come. As more people come, more people want to buy. As more people buy, you get like more people are coming into it. As that happens, we get more goods and services. As there's more goods and services and more people, the value of the token rises. So
Well, someone on the panel today, it may have been Jesta, I don't remember. Actually, you know what? It was weird because it usually shows who is talking, and it wasn't showing who was talking
that's because
today.
you weren't in the room.
Oh,
You're just always in the room with the people that are talking.
Oh, right. All right. Someone said that they predicted that it's just going to shoot right back down and to be $1.
Yeah, I think he's wrong. I think we probably have another week or two of it. To me, it looks like we might have found the support level. I'm not entirely sure, but I think we're pretty safe here for another week or two. And I think it's going to keep testing limits around... shit, I can't do BTC conversion in my head. But 0.82. What's my BTC price? So I'll try to share what I think this little guy is going to be. And don't take my word for this. I'm not the world's best trader. But price, I want ticker. No, I want prices. Price Bitcoin, BTC. So it's at 14,000. So 14 times 8. 13 times 8. So I think it's gonna, over the next 2 weeks, it's gonna keep trying to push through around $11. And it's going to get to 11 and fall back down. It's going to get to 11 and fall back down. It's going to get to 11 and it won't fall back down as much. It'll get back to 11 and won't fall down as much. And then it will push past 11 and blow through it to 20 to 24 or something.
So what is your recommendation right now for everyone's post payouts? Do you recommend that they hang on to that SBD?
I'm hanging on to mine, but I think everybody's situation is different. I'm willing. I have a decent job that pays me in U.S. dollars, and I can meet my mortgage, and I can pay my bills, and I can do the shit that I need to do. So I'm in a position where even if I lose this money, I'll be okay. But I'm also I personally think that my SBD are going to be worth 3 times as much as they are right now, and I'm betting that that's within 2 weeks. But if you have to pay bills, or you're going hungry, or your kid needs a pair of winter boots, then for God's sake, just sell it now and
what if the wife needs winter boots? It's not just the kid.
Yeah.
Shane.
I mean, sometimes the spouse can make their own winter boots or pay for them. And that's not just directed at the female spouse. That could be the male spouse. But yeah, people can post, right? Go ahead and post. Start making you want boots? Go spend the month on the platform to get some followers so that you can actually get some post rewards. And you are welcome to help yourself to boots on your own time. But if it's a kid, the kid can't get a job, and the kid can't even post because you're supposed to be 13 before this thing even starts. So like that. So I guess this show is a little bit more about abundance than anything else. But to me, if we want people to have nice things and not just the 25 owners of the Steem platform, but the 30,000 posters that are here every day, then it is far better for that value to remain in SBD than it is to go up in Steem. And
absolutely.
So I'm quite happy to have it exactly where it's sitting.
Me too. And I hope it stays. I hope you're right. We have a question. Aggie, what's your view on bidbots? Do you use them on most of your posts?
Right now, I'm using them an ass load. I love them. I think these things are awesome. I just think so there's a couple things. because I'm of the mindset that the post values are going to go up, I'm spending $6 SBDs now to vote, and I think I will get back a higher amount of I will get back the same amount of SBDs, but they'll be worth more in a week. So maybe not a week. I think this might take 2 weeks to actually start shooting up again. But that's
you mean 2 weeks to shift up? Well, you think it's going to hover, go from, like you said, 10 and back down, kind of seesaw?
Yeah, I think I'm not much of a trader. I kind of suck at all these things. But there's a trader, Hagen, that I've been listening to more recently, and seems to have quite a nice reputation. And looking at some of the ways that he's looking at stocks and the cryptos, I think I'm seeing a pattern, and I'm sort of referencing some of his work here. But looking at it, we're going through a healthy retraction on the price. I think it's going to bounce around a little bit and keep trying to poke higher. As it tries to poke higher, people are going to push it back down, push it back down, push it back down. But eventually the ability to push it back down won't surpass the demand for the token, in part because there's only 3.6 million of them. And I think in a week or two, we're going to see a stronger SBD by a factor of 3 is my rough estimate, somewhere between 3 to 4.
Another question, but don't you lose ground because the system splits basically 50-50 between SBD and Steem as far as using bidbots?
Say that again?
As far as using bidbots, don't you lose ground because the system splits basically 50-50 between SBD and Steem?
No. Well, how do I even answer that? Relative to what? So, is this, you're looking at a question from the text channel or something? My brain hasn't looked at this. Isaria, you there? Isaria? Am I? Oh, shoot. Wait,
having to talk.
He's
here.
I moved into the wrong one by accident. I was looking for where this is written. Where did that question come from? Is that just
JJ?
You? JJ. So I'm now co-owner of this thing. Me and Yabamat got together, and I'm trying to. He's a hell of a programmer, but he can't get all of his unit conversion right. So the two of us are going to work on this together. And the thing that I'm talking about here is this is called the Steembot tracker. And Steembot tracker you can actually use to figure out how much rewards are going onto a post. And
You've done some amazing upgrades on that. I just looked at it today. It's much different.
It's awesome. This thing is fantastic, although his units aren't perfect. And so some of this is still misleading. So that's part of why I'm getting involved, is to fix this. But yeah, your vote value is in this weird mix of Steem and SBDs. And your max profitable bid, I think, is listed just in SBDs. I don't know. I don't know his full programming of this. It's not exactly right now. And it doesn't really help you for, he's got a bot that allows you to use Steem. Booster allows you to use Steem right now, too.
Yeah, there's only 2 of them, Booster and Post Promoter.
Yeah, Love Juice and MSP Bidbot are going to switch to allowing both. But before we do that, we have to fix his units. And so he made his own. Nearly all of these bots run off of a program called Dr. Auto, and Inertia made that. And Yabamat, or Yaba P. Matt, who just picked up the Pumpkin Witness vote, which is worth 15 PV, and now he's sitting at Witness 43 or something. Nice. He's now he's got to go. He's got his own bidbot version, which does nice things like immediately refund invalid bids, and it's going to accept Steem too. But before, and so I actually have him. He's already managing Love Juice, and he's already managing MSP Bidbot. But I won't let him turn on using Steem because the max profitable bid isn't calculated right for using Steem. So his units still have some challenges here, but this thing in theory is working pretty well. And you can use it to... It's this amazing thing. In advertising, like your first thought is, I'm going to have to pay this guy to advertise my thing. With bidbots, I can go pay the bidbot owner to give me a vote. So I'm paying him to pay me back. Oftentimes the vote has some risk because people are worried about the price going down of SBDs in particular. So there's risk when you're doing this. So typically when I've been bidding, I've been seeing larger returns than what I had to spend. And so to me, not only am I am putting money at risk to go advertise my posts, but surprisingly, I'm not actually paying anything to do that. I'm simply storing it for a week and then getting it back. And it's possible I'm wrong about the SBD price. And if that's the case, then I'll lose some money doing this. But, at the moment, I'm not adding cash in. I'm doing work and getting SBDs out. So it's not like I'm going to lose my mortgage payment from this if I'm wrong. So
if you did like a $5 vote and you got a $20 return, you subtract 5 from that, that's $15 profit. If that comes out just that, well, then you have to subtract whatever curation out of that. So say subtract, I don't know, $3.
Yeah, you probably
so say it's like
if you're doing a $5 vote and you get a $20 vote, you're probably getting 8 SBD back. So you're seeing like a 1.5% return, or like 150% return. So even if the price were to dip 3/4, you would still break even. But now you broke even, but your post value is going up. So like I've been paying a bunch of money to get my posts into trending, and it's taking me 16 or 18 months to get to 7,000 followers. And in the last week or week and a half, I'm already at 7,500. So I've picked up 500 followers in basically a week of using bidbots. I mean, that's a lot of sustainable revenue that I just picked up by having used these. And if the price of SBD really drops back down to 1, then it was pretty expensive. But if the price goes up like I think it's going to do, it's just going to take about 2 weeks to get there. Maybe a little longer. I don't know when this thing bottoms out, but I don't think this thing is going back down. So as long as I'm patient, those SBDs are going to be worth more, and I'll be in a nice position to capitalize on that.
I know some people still have some moral issues with bidbots. Can we talk about how you feel about that?
I totally understand it, but having moral qualms about them isn't going to make them go away, and it really won't help the situation either. The best thing to do is just, if you don't want them to be used on shit posts, then use them on your posts and keep shit posters from being able to really profit from them.
It's kind of like your post where you said if you don't use bidbots, then the shit posters win.
Yeah, I originally had that as the terrorists will win. Right. But it didn't make perfect sense the way I had it. But yeah, right. If you don't do it, then the terrorists win. So we have to, after thinking about it for a while and having some concerns about it, the other thing that I like is that I delegate. So 2 things have happened when I started using bidbots. The amount of my posts was going up quite a bit more. So I sort of think of this as yards after the catch. So in football, it's not just how far you throw it, but then you get to run afterwards. So I'll toss on 100 SBD worth of bidbot votes, and I'll get 100 SBD. I'll assume that I just break even on that, and maybe I even lose a little bit of money on that because I've seen the price dip. Okay, so I lost a little bit of money there, but there's an amazing thing about posts that have high values on them, like over $100, get more views, and they capture more people, and more people are willing to look at them, and more people are willing to vote on them. So I've actually captured a lot of that value back. Even if I lost it, I'll put $100 of bidbot votes on, and then I'll capture an extra $100 from people that think that the story was good, that I don't think would have read it otherwise.
Yeah, I hear you. I want to bring up what Clay says here. The problem with that logic is the people with all of the SP that control 93% of the Steem are running these bidbots, and they are the ones that win either way. Just like the government dividing peasants between the Democrats and the Republicans. Who cares which one wins when the people actually running the show win either way?
Yeah. So before I call them evil whales, I don't want to refer to Freedom as an evil whale. I want to just think of him as an investor. And he figured out that if he makes these tools, which is basically a marketing tool, like I know people think of them as cash machines and it's immoral to use these cash machines or whatever, but if you think of this as a marketing tool, it is a marketing tool meant to help you promote your post. And he gets a return on his investment by allowing you to do that. And it's open to everybody. These kind of the bid buying things happened even before the bid bots. They just happened in direct messages, and nobody could see who was doing it. Nobody could see that like some rich person kept voting for somebody, not because they liked their post, but because they were getting paid. And now it's just making that same action transparent. So I'm not hiding the fact I put out a post that I'm using them. And I've seen a lot of benefits from these. I've seen benefits in terms of my view count. I've seen benefits in terms of my post rewards. And I've seen a benefit from an actual return investing in the bots. And for that, I am thankful to the people that are investing and making this an option on the platform. And I have also seen people abusing it and using it for shit posts. But I honestly think that the best answer for that, because I don't think Steemit has any intention of going back to quadratic rewards. They're going to stick with linear rewards. And as long as linear rewards are here, bidbots are going to be here. And they have no intention of leaving. If that's the case, then I go back to the argument of if good posters don't use them, then the terrorists will win.
Yeah, I'm so torn on this from the whole debate that's been going on. I mean, I used to use them all the time, and I've talked with Clay about it. We've had conversations about it. He's the one who ever brought it to my attention, the negative aspects of it, because I didn't really even understand being, a minnow, and I've only been here a couple months. I just was like, oh, bidbot, okay, whatever, I'm using this bidbot. And now I can see both sides of it. So it's just really interesting.
I think part of the reason why I asked Yabamat to go 50-50 on the bidbot tracker and his tool is so that we can make them better and we can make them more transparent, and we can do things like, if you're a minnow, maybe there's a maximum bid that you can put on until you get a certain rep. And if you're a known shit poster or a plagiarist, and you're on the Steam Cleaners blacklist, then hopefully we can keep an updated blacklist for everybody. And
I think that would be a huge step in the right direction for all the bot owners to have a blacklist like that.
Well, that's what we're doing. That's what we're working on. I mean, there's a bunch of work to do between here and there. And I see Patrice in the audience. But yeah, Patrice, the more that you can work with Yabapu Matt and his post promoter bot to go get the blacklist put into that, so that we can start stopping shit posters, that I think starts getting at killing this. Will it be open source? I gotta go. There's parts of this that'll be open source and parts of it that won't, Shane. And I haven't figured out what those are. We if we're gonna spend some time doing this, we want like a completely freemium version, and then we're probably gonna have some more advanced features that aren't. One of which would be some like automatic financial transfers that happen with the bot that I think we'll charge a fee on. But maybe something as simple as the blacklist, maybe that's built in. I mean, we haven't worked it all out, but the goal is to use the bidbot tool in a way to reduce shit posts on the platform and help good posters be promoted and have a whitelist so that it's if you which to me is really just rep. Like if you have a 65 rep or higher and you've made it that far, that you can start using higher and higher votes, and maybe that's tiered. Again, I don't have all these stuff figured out, but I feel like these are ways that we as a community can have nice things. We can have a promotional tool. We can have investors that are happy to hold on to Steem and find a use for it. And we can also have that Steem benefit, not just the only the owners, but there is a benefit that definitely goes to the people that are using them. Again, I'm breaking even, and I think I'm actually quite a bit. And also the people that voted on me are up quite a bit. There are some times that I'm doing this right at the beginning of my posts, but I also like to come in at the end of my posts. And if I come in at the end of my post, then everybody that voted on it previously gets some huge curation.
Yep, that's the way. That's one of the things I like about it. But I mean, do you really think you're only breaking even? It seemed to me, just from looking at your post, that you've done really well with it.
It's tough to know because I don't know how much SBD I'm spending to go get back how much SBD I'm getting back and what it's worth.
Oh, you're not. Oh, you're not. Oh, you mean just from payout because you don't know what it's going to be worth when it pays out.
Correct. And what I get back, and again, it's like holding a stock. Whether or not it made me money or I lost money on it is more of a timing decision than anything else. Because if I don't sell it when it's low, I haven't lost anything. And if I sell it when it's high, then I've gained a lot. So some of this is a timing of when I cash out too.
Right.
But right now, some of these bidbots have, their window is only at like 50% paid. So you can actually get twice your vote value. So even if my payout cuts in half, I'm still up like 1 1/3 on my bid after all the like SBD and Steem and all the weird things that I showed earlier.
When you use Steem on a bidbot is it a different rate that comes back to you as far as the percentage?
No, actually using Steem on a bidbot that accepts Steem, I think is one of the best deals going. Because in the bidbot tracker now, it's not showing up correctly of how much value you'd actually get based off of your bid, because your bid is 1/6 of what everybody else is paying. So your return on your investment when you're paying in Steem is actually roughly 6 times higher. So,
one word of caution is that since right now only Booster and Post Promoter are accepting Steem, they're a bit oversaturated, and they're getting. I was looking at
that's my point, Isaria. They're not.
Yeah.
So when you're paying in Steem, it shows up as if you were paying in SBD when you're looking at the max profitable bid. But they're actually, because you're paying in Steem, those bids are actually worth roughly 6 times more to you. So they show up looking like, oh, I'm already breaking even, but you're actually making 6 times the return.
Because it's coming back in SBD.
You're spending quarters and getting back dollars.
Oh, right. Okay.
So no, they're not saturated at all. So I don't like sharing that because I like using them. For, for a while there, I was spending 44 Steem and getting back 33 SBD. So in my mind, that's a trade-off. I was getting votes that were paying me $200 while I was promoting the hell out of my posts, and that was helping me get additional votes, and I was helping all my people that I was curating, or that those were the people that were curating me. I was using these bots to curate them back.
Right.
So all things considered,
I like that plan.
I mean, I think it's pretty good. And I think if all these bots, if we can fix the units so that you can see what the units would be in Steem, and then me and Yaba can go convince everybody to switch bots and use Steem, I think that will help too, because then there's a lot less, it feels like you're risking a lot less when you're using Steem than when you're using SBD to vote.
Right.
And so I think that would also make it much more accessible to people, especially in third worlds or something like that, where, you know, finding 2 SBD is $24, which might be 1,000 of your local currency, whereas being able to vote in Steem is $4, and maybe that's still $100, but you are a lot more likely to be able to spend $100 than you are $1,000 on a bidbot from your local currency.
Yeah. Can you explain what the whitelist is again?
Yeah, so what part of the thought here is that we want people to get a profit and we want people to do well. But we gotta be careful of who we're supporting. So the blacklist would be something like, hey, these people are known spammers, plagiarists, thieves, and just generally platform assholes, and we don't want to help them or support them, so we're adding them to this blacklist. Part of this might be if your rep is below, say, a 45, you can only bid up to 2 SBD. And if you are up to 50, then maybe you can go up to 5 SBD. And if you're up to 60, maybe it's 10 or 20. And if you're up to 70, it's 100. And if you're on the whitelist, you can spend whatever, whenever. And maybe we do things like Minnow Booster, where you have set limits. Like you can send in SBD for a vote. You'll get the vote back. You get a 35% guaranteed profit. But you can only do it so many times per week.
Yeah, that's one of the things I liked about that. And I know Torco had mentioned that as far as some kind of limits on the bid bots as well, to try to cut down on people that are possibly abusing it.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and having, if we need whitelists, meaning maybe there's somebody that meets certain, is a minnow that is really doing some good work but willing to spend a bunch of SBD, and so they don't have a lot of Steem power, but they have a lot of SBD, and they want to use it to post and promote their posts. Maybe it's like one example of this would be somebody from another cryptocurrency wants to launch an ICO. They're just starting on the platform. So they could come to us and say, hey, look, we're not a bunch of shit posters. We're a company, and we're trying to advertise on the platform. Here's some... we have a lot of SBD to go bid on these things, but our rep is so low that it won't allow us to bid. So can you please whitelist us and allow us to spend more? So, yeah. So like Patrice is saying, what we're trying to do is stop people from copying posts or just shit posting a comment on a year-old post and put a bunch of votes into that, because that really is robbing the reward pool.
Right.
I tentatively got agreement from Ned to go on a radio show with me and do like a fireside chat.
Great.
And during that fireside chat, one of the things that I would hope to do is ask Ned for a delegation specifically to combat bot abuse, and get some delegation from Steemit to basically run around and provide what I will call a disincentive to shitpost and then upvote using the bots, because we will literally run around and scrub every single dollar off the post that you spent good hard-earned money for. And so for stuff like that, you really do need obscenely clean guidelines that you follow to the T, because we're going to mess with real people's money. But by doing that, we will effectively return thousands of dollars to the reward pool, giving everybody else's post a significant boost. So that's one of my visions, again, of how can we help grow this ecosystem? How can we support everybody? There's ways that we can work within this community to have bidbots, have them work well, reward posters, reward investors, and cut out the shit posters, because there are shit posters and there is abuse. I'm not saying this is the cleanest industry I've ever stepped foot into, but I think that there are ways that we can be transparent, be thoughtful, and really help make it a better experience for everyone.
I agree.
So this show was mostly about abundance today, I think. It wasn't so much just about conflict resolution. This is more about thinking about, is the value of this thing appropriate? Why would we want SBDs? How can this help minnows? How can this help posters? What's good for investors? What's good for everybody else who aren't those top 25 or 20, like 30 accounts?
Right. I mean, one of our themes is definitely abundance, and it's important for us to try to come together and think of ways that we can all be abundant here and therefore in our lives. So I think it's a good topic.
And doing that while trying to look after the platform as well, which isn't always easy. But, I'm just a dude. I'm just doing the best that I know how and the best that I can. I'm hoping that the decisions that I make are helpful and benefit this platform. And, as a top witness, these are the kinds of things that I think about literally every single second of the fucking day. This place has just consumed my life. But to me, it's highly rewarding. And this community, both the PalNet and also the Steemit community, do a better job of supporting the values that I believe in than anything else I've seen thus far. And so because of that, I'm going to keep working my ass off and trying to grow this place and do it in an ethical, thoughtful, conscientious, and positive light. And while doing that, I'm hoping to blaze a trail that other people can follow. And hopefully you will find as much or more success than me in a shorter amount of time than it took me, because we'll have all these tools like this community, like mspwaves, like some of these ethical bidbots, like hopefully there's just more tools on the platform that help you grow in ways that, I was like 7 months on the platform and I wrote, holy shit, my vote is now worth 2 cents. Fucking doubled 2 cents. And that was a huge thing to me, So now I'm doing my best to make it so that you don't have to do that. You don't have to sit there and slog through 8 months of shit to still not make it. I'm trying to make it so that, especially people that are part of the Minnow support community, but just everybody on the platform at large, has an opportunity to get there.
Yep, I'm right here with you.
Okay, so is there a show on after us, or are we it?
This is it.
Okay. It's 10:03. I think we're safe to wrap up. Does that feel okay to you, Isaria?
Yeah, I think it's a good conversation. All
right. I feel pretty good about the whole thing. Is there anything that I'm trying to. We're gonna go. Let's do Cage the Elephant and get a little song in. That's a little. I played this earlier today, but I'm trying to add a little bit more new music to my.
What? No.
I know.
No, come on. You have to stick with the same 6 songs.
I know. I'm trying hard. This is the best I can do. I'm gonna play it twice in the same day, but for everybody else, it's new. All right. So So my name is Aggroed, and my co-host is Isaria. You've been listening to MSP Waves. The show is entitled The Peace Academy, and it was a little bit more heavy on tutorial and Steem and bidbots and platform and SBD than what this show normally is. We normally like to do some conflict resolution and stuff, but I don't know. Hopefully today's lesson that was mostly about abundance and what abundance looks like on this platform can help.
And you know what? I think it was important too, because a lot of people were confused about why SBD spiked in the first place, and it's a good conversation to have.
All right. Yeah, I don't feel bad about it. It just wasn't quite what I was walking in expecting to do, but this is where we went, and that's where the universe needed us.
That's the way our shows go.
Yeah. I'm okay with that. Anyways, this has been a production of the Minnow Support Project and OSP Waves. It's the Peace Academy. It's got Isaria. It's got Aggroed. And you guys are awesome. Thanks for being here during the show. I'm gonna go play Ain't No Rest for the Wicked, and then I'll play some Dead Air for everybody.
Bye.
All right, bye guys. And let me go turn off the recording.